What is going on, guys? It is Joe back again talking about the Kansas State Wildcats, and in today's video we're talking about the basketball team taking down number 9 Baylor 68-64 in one of the craziest games in recent memory. Now, I am in a new location. If you can't tell, I'm house sitting, so that's why I am not in the normal studio, so I apologize for being on the run so much and not getting you the same background. That being said, this game was unbelievable to watch. Now, I've got a lot of different thoughts to discuss in today's video, but before I do, let me remind you, this video is sponsored by Manhattan Brewing Company. They have the best beer in the world. It tastes the best. It's the coldest. It's the freshest. It's everything you want in a beer. Be sure and check it out at Manhattan Brewing Company. In that same sense, last night is a perfect example of a game where I couldn't settle down after. I mean, I was up till what felt like 2 a.m. That's partially why this video is out later. Sorry about that one. And I could not just wind down. That was a ridiculous game to watch. I couldn't believe it. Best thing to do at that point, crack yourself open an ice cold beer from Manhattan Brewing Company and sit back and relax. As best as you can, that's the best way to do it. That's what happened to me last night. So be sure and check out Manhattan Brewing Company. They're great people. They support the channel and we support them the same way. So be sure and cross that off of your to-do list in 2024. Now let's talk Kansas State basketball. Man, there are so many awesome lines I want to discuss in today's video. There's like 7 different topics, 10 different topics of positives I can take away from this game. Let me start off, because I know some of you guys don't like the positivity all the time. Let me start off by addressing the offense. Now, I know the offense wasn't what we all hoped it would be, or whatever the case is, and people are like, oh, it's a 5-out offense, it's this, it's that. Guys, I really feel like I'm at a point now where if you're winning close contests against a top 10 team in the country without your best scorer on the court, Cam Carter, fouling out in the game, you're probably doing something right. So I know that people want to get pissed off about the offense and be like, well, we only scored whatever. I think everybody needs to shift their identity of what they expect this team to be. I mean, I talked about it in the offseason, man. I talked about it before the season started up back in August. I spoke about it saying, you know what? I think this team's going to look different than any Kansas State team in recent history. Obviously, Jerome Tang's only in his second year, so it's obviously a different identity than any Bruce Weber-led team. But now, I mentioned this in the offseason. There's a video that I talked about. Actually, it's kind of a cool one to go back and look at. I talked about it saying, what is Jerome Tang's new approach to the basketball season? In there, I detailed the thoughts around, okay, this team is not going to be a team that scores 95, 100 points consistently. Obviously, we saw that a couple times this season already, but this team is going to be one that out-hustles, out-defends, and out-rebounds you. They're going to run out in transition. That's where the majority of their production is going to come from. I talked about how Coach Tang's identity in recruiting, and you saw it this year, confirmed 100%, it's not focused on bringing the best scorers to Manhattan. It's focused on creating matchup nightmares for every position on the court. I'll run you through a list of examples. Tyler Perry, I know he's not shooting great from the three-point line, whatever, dude. He is still a threat from three that people are worried about because he can heat up in an instant. Every team on the scouting report knows that. Tyler Perry's commanding a lot of respect from there. Cam Carter's Cam Carter, baby. You got to close out on Cam. You got to lock Cam down however you can, which no team in the country has been able to do effectively to this point. So Cam's on the scouting report. Arthur Kaluma, man, he's the best three-point shooter on the team statistically at the moment. Obviously, you like to see what you have from Perry and Carter as well, but with Art, he's an NBA player, man. People are closing out. They've got Art on the scouting report. He's got double-doubles on deck every single game this season. Then you get down to the low post. David Gasson, who caught just unbelievable amounts of flack from everybody. I mean, I was critical of Dave. People were critical of Dave for his free throw shooting. He went and corrected that. His hustle, his rebounding, and his defense have been first-team All-Big 12 level. Like, I'm not saying he's going to be a first-team All-Big 12 player because I don't think that's the way it's going to go. First-team All-Big 12 defense is in the cards for David Gasson. That's the type of player this dude is, and you've seen him lighting up the rebound sheet. Like, that game does not get won without David Gasson making that rebound there. Kicks it out to R.J. Jones. R.J. Jones spreads it around over to Arthur Kaluma. Kaluma with the massive 4-point play. Unbelievable. Then you get Will McNair. Will McNair has had some hot and cold stretches for K-State. Last night, a little bit colder, in my opinion, but did come on strong in the second half, and then got knocked in the mouth and had the bloody lips the entire second half. That dude's a fighter, man. That is so cool to see. Obviously, you don't want your players getting hurt. I'm not just trying to gas him up into that situation, but it's pretty sick to see the toughness and the mental, like, no, dude, I'm staying out here. Like, the ref tried to step Will McNair aside and be like, hey, man, you got to go get checked out. He's like, I'm not giving up this offensive board. It was on a one-on-one opportunity for Baylor. Baylor misses. Will McNair grabs a rebound. That was what we missed in Texas Tech. Not having Will on the court and giving up that offensive rebound, that was one of the game-changing plays that led to the and one, and then they take the lead, whatever. I know that's salt in the wound, whatever, but Will McNair knew, no, I'm not coming out of this game right now. I need to be out here. Wait till after this play. I'm staying out. And I thought that was so sick. So all that's to say, that's just the starting lineup. Then you look at the next wave of guys, and these are the dudes that I focused on to say why K-State is focused on this. Dorian Finister, Jerome Colbert are perfect examples of this. You saw massive nights from these dudes. I mean, these guys are dudes that had to sit all last season, basically. Obviously, Dorian Finister played a little bit early in the non-con, but, after that, the guys redshirted the entire year. They are stepping in and competing in big minutes. Dorian Finister more than most because he's really had the most defined role with this team of you need stops and boards. That's what Coach Dowling's talked about. That's what Coach Tang's talked about. We need you to rebound. We need you to get stops. Dorian Finister's been that dude, man. I am so excited to see that. And then here's what you all get to see. We all get to see him throwing down a lob in transition from Cam Carter. Dorian Finister was the example of why I say this. He's a 6'4" point guard. I know he's kind of operated as a 2-3 guard right now, but throughout high school, throughout a lot of that, he operated as the primary ball guard. Like the guy bringing up the ball, doing everything, facilitating. That's the type of player Dorian Finister can be. They talked about it in postgame. They asked about both Jerome Colbert and Dorian Finister, and with that, Finister was brought up, and Coach Tang said, look, this guy has legit NBA talent. Like, we expect him to be an NBA player. And then you even saw Scott Drew say the same thing. Like, to an extent, he's like, Kansas State provided matchup problems for us because of their NBA length. They have NBA length. You can focus on that with Cam Carter being 6'3" at the 2 guard. You can focus on that being Arthur Kaluma playing the 3 at 6'7". David Gasson, one of the longest dudes on the court, 6'9" at the 4. Then Will McNair's a huge dude. But the continued development on the defensive side of the ball, that's enough to win these games, man. I'm not saying we need to be perfect on offense. I'm not saying we need to be perfect, whatever, but defense, I know it's a cliche. Defense can win these games, man. Defense can win championships. I know you need an offense. I know you need whatever. I know people are like, well, we shouldn't run the 5 out. Guys, they didn't run that 5 out for the full 40 minutes. There's a lot of changing that we're not picking up on because we're like, oh, offense is bad, 5 out bad, woo, woo. That's what's happening, man. That's what people are looking at. I don't think that's the truth, man. I really don't. I mean, I think it hasn't fully been what we expected. Obviously, you set it up for Naquan Tomlin, Quez Glover to be active. But look, man, you adapt. You adapt. Instilling an entire new offense at this point in the season seems ridiculous in my opinion. When you have a defense that is keeping opponents under 60 points on average, run with that, dude. I know I'm wearing a Chiefs hat. I'll use that as my example. Everybody gets pissed off when Patrick Mahomes starts, air quotes, playing bad because, okay, this isn't the 35 points per game thing you're seeing or you're used to seeing. The defense is playing like the best in the NFL right now. They are winning games because of their defense, not because of their offense. That's a scary change for a lot of Chiefs fans. That's how Kansas State is right now. We're fresh off a season where we saw Marquise Noel, Keontae Johnson, both have multiple 30-point outings, big, 90-point scoring affairs. Our defense wasn't great last year, guys. This year, it's the exact inverse of that. The thing we need to focus on as fans, because you're going to see it change every single time, if you can continue to win, you're doing something right. There's always going to be things you can clean up. There's always going to be things you can focus on. If you can continue to win these close games, you are doing the right thing. So I wanted to kind of express my thoughts on that before I highlighted specifics. Let's get into specific players. I am so freaking proud of Jerome Colbert, dude. That dude is a beast. Now, I've talked about it in the past, and I've kind of shied away from the comparison because I don't want to be that guy that tries to bring up old wounds or whatever. It's like bringing up an ex. When you think about what we lost in Naquan Tomlin, athleticism, length, and then effort. Jerome Colbert has so many shades of that same level of athleticism. Like, I don't want to say that he's Naquan Tomlin, he's Naquan in training. They're different people, they're different players, they're different kids, they're different skill sets. But that athleticism and that length that you saw, where Naquan Tomlin bloomed into this role where he can be a 6'10" wing guard type player who can defend 1 through 5, Jerome Colbert has that same trajectory with his athleticism. And you saw it against Baylor. Like, Baylor's bigs were beating Will McNair because of their speed, not necessarily their physicality or their strength. Jerome Colbert, laterally really quick. You saw it off the ball screens trapping Ray J. Dennis. You saw it with a couple of different guys. Langston Love's another one that turned it over a couple of times. Jerome Colbert provided that, hey, we need a spark here. He played 13 minutes in the first half and had some great minutes. Had multiple blocks, 2 big finishes, 6 points on the day. Jerome Colbert needs more minutes, man. I'm not saying that, I'm not going to be the guy that's like, Coach Tang, change your lineup, because that's just not how it goes. What's going to happen is every game you're going to see a different lineup. You're going to see a game where Buddy Rich has 16 minutes after not playing for a month. You're going to see a game where RJ Jones, dog, what a freaking shot, by the way. Do you know how much confidence that instills in a kid when he hasn't played much at all? Like, he played the game before, but you didn't see RJ for much. They said on the broadcast that big 3 he hits was the first points he scored since the Central Alabama game nearly a month ago, December 2nd or whatever it was. That's crazy. RJ checks in, hits the biggest 3 of his young career, and has so many more moments ahead that are similar. Like, the dude can shoot. That's what everybody talks about. Kansas State is continuing to find ways to win ugly, to win hot, whatever you want to say. It's about winning at the end of the day. I'm seeing Kansas State win. That's a good thing. I'm not going to overread into that and say, well, we need to change this up and this up and this up. Sometimes it's a little bit easier to not be the player coach all the time. I'm saying this for my own sake, not for you guys, because I know that some of you feel conservative with me. Some of you are kind of like, jump the gun, be angry about whatever. I'm not trying to call out anybody, but in my case, when I'm watching games, I'm like, no, we got to do this, we got to do this. Dude, if you win a game, everybody just needs to exhale. If you win the game, exhale. Focus on the next game. Put it away for now. We don't see Scott Drew and Baylor the rest of the year. Jerome Tang advances to 3-0 against his former boss, as well as 10-0 in overtime. I'm saying all this to say that every single game is going to be different. The consistency that we're hoping for is going to look different across each game. You'll see that with different players. Whether that be Jerome Colbert checking, whether that be Dorian Finister checking in and just yamming down a massive lob, defending, rebounding, doing his thing. Like, you're going to see Dorian Finister step into that role of like, hey, okay, I'm defending, I'm rebounding, I'm affecting each possession. You're going to see him get to a point where, like we saw last night, he's finishing in transition. He's lethal in transition. I mean, that dude shot up the court and was behind the play, got out in front, and then yammed it down over Baylor. Like, Baylor's a good transition team. Don't get me wrong, but Kansas State's defense was so good in that contest that you forced them to operate in the half court, and they couldn't get much going. They're a one-on-one type team. They try to take it out of the 5-on-5 and make it a one-on-one. That's why you see Ray J. Dennis trying to do a little bit too much, drive to the cup, turn the ball over. Jerome Colbert's there to pick it on the help side defense. Like, you see that happen because Kansas State's defense is so tough. It happened against Texas Tech. It happened against every team we've played so far. It's going to keep happening. As long as you can keep learning lessons while winning, this team is going to be really special. Now, guys, I look at the Big 12 Conference and I think, like, obviously there's an element to say, yeah, you want to score 85 points a game. Yeah, you want to keep teams to 50 points a game. Like, that's what you want. It's not always going to work out that way. Kansas, you're probably not going to hold Kansas to 50 points. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to hold Kansas to 60 points. Houston's going to be a team that runs out in transition. There are so many different individual tests and challenges ahead for this team. I just want to say, like, it's important not to get attached to one style of basketball. When you can win in multiple ways, that's what makes you dangerous. That's what I saw last night with the Baylor K-State game. That's what it was, man. So whether it be Cam Carter getting 18 points, obviously fouled out late. Dude, you did all of that without your best scorer, like down the stretch. And they showed, hey, we've got more in us. Like when Cam went out, I was pretty nervous because you need somebody to facilitate and kind of get things going. Tyler Perry steps up. Arthur Kaluma steps up. David Gassan's rebounding his tail off. He steps up. You have multiple guys out there making big buckets. Dorian Finister had a big bucket. There's a lot of great things happening on the court that I don't know that we all anticipated at this point in the season. I don't know that you anticipated specific role players stepping up into their roles, but it's important to note what this looks like going forward. Kansas State in the Big 12, they're currently 3-1. That's massive. That's tied for second in the league. The only undefeated team left now is the Texas Tech Red Raiders. They're going to get the brakes beat off them tonight by Houston. Houston coming off a 2-game losing streak. They're not losing. They're not losing at home to Texas Tech. I'm sorry. It's just not the case. If it is, Texas Tech is way better than I thought. I don't really think they're that good. I mean, not saying they did beat us, but you lose by 1 point at an away game versus going on the road. Like every single game in the Big 12, if you go to an away game, doesn't matter who you play, you're at a risk of losing. That's what you've seen. Cincinnati beats TCU the other night. You see a lot of different overtime games, a lot of different games where you didn't expect it. BYU beats the brakes off Iowa State. Obviously, Kansas handles Oklahoma State, but it's the cliche. It's what Coach Tang talks about. If you can go 1-0 every single game, you're doing something right. That's what happens. That's how you win championships. That's how you win the Big 12. That's how you win these close games. It's about going 1-0 every day, every game, every practice, every anything. That's how you get where you want to be. I say all that to say we got a lot of season left ahead of us. If you can keep getting off to a great start, like you win against Oklahoma State on Saturday, and I'm not taking them for granted because literally anybody can win at any time in the Big 12. You'll see that consistently. Anybody can beat anybody. West Virginia beats Texas. You see teams like Iowa State beat Houston. TCU almost beat Kansas. Obviously, the whistle decided a little bit late, but anything can happen on any given night. That's what the Big 12 Conference is about. If you get off to a 4-1 start to the first 5 games, that is a massive win, especially considering you played Texas Tech and Baylor, 2 undefeated teams. So continuing to hammer that point home, if Kansas State can keep winning, that's where we want to be. Keep learning lessons, keep working. The role players need to keep developing. I am so proud of the resolve, the effort, the heart, the hustle this team showed last night, and I cannot wait to see it going forward. Jerome, Tang, the rest of the staff, hats off to you guys. You are doing an excellent job, and I'm so proud to not only be a K-State fan, but to get to witness part of their journey. So shout out to everyone last night. Shout out to all the effort, everything that happened on the court. that was one of those wins where your heart jumps, like it skips a beat a little bit because you say, all right, look, this is one where this redefines what Kansas State basketball is each season. A top 10 win is one thing. I don't want to just take that away. Like, this is a top 10 win, but it also felt like something that was very possible. The fans didn't rush the field because it was expected. That's what you want to see. You want to see us as a program taking those steps forward. So huge shout out to everybody. Huge shout out to you guys who went, man. The crowd was massive. It was loud. That's what Bramlage is. That's what it should be every single night. We need that home environment. And I'm so excited to see some of the national people saying, look, dude, Bramlage is loud. That place is an environment. We got to get there. That's what you want to see. So I'm excited for that. But I will get out of here, and I will talk to you guys here later. Reminder to go check out Manhattan Brewing Company. If you like the video, be sure and subscribe. I'm not going to force you. It's free, but it does help me out immensely. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. We'll talk here soon. Go Cats.